Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your game, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome into another edition of the Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I am Rob, and I'm here with the one and only Mr. Alex. How are you doing this fine evening, buddy?
Not too bad, man. Just looking forward to some warmer weather this weekend.
Yeah, you were just saying that. It's going to be a little warm in Columbus this weekend, not as warm up in Cleveland, so I'm a little upset. But warm enough where hopefully we could maybe I'll get out golfing. We're just talking about that.
Go.
How'd week 3 treat you? With
Not so great.
Teams? No.
Yeah.
Not so great.
The Josh Kelly hype is dead. He killed me.
What a
Big
swing
time.
and miss.
Yeah.
On that. Yeah, I was I had him in some DFS lineups this week because I thought I didn't think he'd kill it, but I thought he'd be fine. Like I thought he'd get enough points. But boy, were we wrong with that. So he's officially droppable if you guys are still wondering. Go on.
Droppable is a strong word.
Very droppable in my opinion. Yeah, my week was okay. It was like I probably won 60% of the games, but I ran into some massive buzzsaws this week. I think 3 of my leagues, I think I played the top team that put up like 215. Like they had one team I played had Devontae Keenan and Raheem Mostert. So that's right off the rip.
Yeah, that sounds
yeah, it was like 120 points with 3 guys. So I was facing some uphill battles this week, but it's all good. It's all good. We got plenty of time to turn it around, and we're going to get you ready for that. We're going to fun show tonight, Alex. Wednesdays, we always do our waiver wire recap. We're going to go over some buy and sell trades. So some players we're selling, some players we are trying to actively trade for. We got another segment that we will get into after the news. And sorry about yesterday. We had to cancel last minute. We had something came up for one of the guys kind of last minute, so we couldn't get the show out. But we got those waiver wire players that we suggested for you. We got that up on the Twitter, so hopefully you guys saw that and that helped you out a little bit. But for right now, let's get into the news. News of the day: Bryce Young is a full participant in practice. It's a lot of injury stuff this time of the year. It's always injury stuff. But Bryce Young, full participant in practice. Anthony Richardson, full practice, but he's still in concussion protocol. So something to kind of keep an eye on going up into the game, but that's a good sign that he was back on the field. Zay Jones, long shot to play this week. Are you playing Christian Kirk?
I've been playing him the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't. He's
their number one guy. I hate to tell Kevin Ridley truthers, but he's gonna lead the team in targets.
We're going to get into that in a little bit. They're playing the Falcons this week, so not an easy matchup. Their defense has been playing pretty well. But Christian Kirk, I love him. I've always been high on him. So Jimmy G is in concussion protocol. He did not practice today. I'm pretty positive. So do you even know who their backup QB is?
Who's that? O'Connell?
Oh, yeah.
Aiden O'Connell.
Aiden O'Connell, the rookie, you're right. So that's interesting to kind of keep note of. I think you're still playing the same guys. There's only 3 guys on that team that I'm playing anyways. So I don't know if it changes too much because those guys are maybe Jacoby I'd have to consider. I think Devontae's fine. He's going to be okay. JJ's still going to be at play. So maybe Jacoby if you got other options, but Jacoby's been playing really well, so it's a tough one. Jalen Waddle was full go in practice today. He is trending on the up to play this week. Jets sign Trevor Siemian. What are your initial thoughts on that, Alex?
Zach Wilson's got a week left of being the starter.
Just getting him ready to hop in there. That's so crazy. Trevor Siemian's coming in again, and he's going to steal the starting job.
He's going to sling it.
He can sling it, so it's probably good for Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
Knock on wood. Austin Eckler is seen at practice today, so that's good news, trending in the up for Austin Eckler. I still doubt we see him this week. I'm kind of curious, but hopefully he plays, get back on the field, help that offense out. Monty, Aaron Jones, and Christian Watson are all questionable for Thursday night football, so make sure you keep an eye on those guys up to kickoff. All three of those guys I'm playing if I have them. For the most part, obviously it depends on your roster build, but if those guys are active, I'm probably plugging them in.
Right.
Yeah. They are plug and plays for me, but let's get into our first segment. Do you believe now, Alex? I gotta play that.
Do you believe that?
Let's get into some Do You Believe Now. So these are some players kind of similar to last week, how me and Norton did it. I'm doing two from each position category, 2 players each that have either surprised us or are kind of fading a different direction. So I want to get your kind of gauge on what you think these guys are rest of season, if you're in on them, if you're out on them. Give me your initial thoughts on these players when we get into them. So let's start with Jordan Love. He's QB5 overall right now. He was QB3 week 1, QB15 week 2, and QB7 week 3. So what's your initial thought on Jordan Love? Are you in on him for the rest of the season, and where do you think he's going to go?
Yeah, I'm in on him. It's just he's not as much of a runner as like Jalen Hurts, but he's mobile enough. His legs can be a threat when they need to be. And with Christian Watson coming back either this week or next week, I don't see him getting worse. That division isn't the strongest division either.
No, it's not.
So I think his floor is QB 11, his ceiling's QB 5.
Yeah, the only thing I want to see him improve on, which
completion percentage,
53%.
Not good
on
at
the
all.
season, and he's passed over 250 yards one time. I think that's going to bump up when Christian Watson's in the lineup, which is good. But he's thrown 3 touchdowns in 2 of 3 games,
right.
So they're slinging it inside the red zone, which is what you want to see. But you also kind of have to factor in Aaron Jones, hasn't been there.
That's going to help him.
Yeah, so all these pieces coming back are only going to boost him for me. So, yeah, I'm in. I think he's getting to that point where he's turning into a locked and loaded QB1. Like, you're going to plug him in every week, not worry about it, and he's going to get you points. So he's somebody I'm high on right now. I love this. I'm happy for him. I'm rooting for the guy. I hope he keeps continuing what he's doing. Next guy we're getting into, CJ Stroud. What a surprise. QB 11 overall. QB 21 week 1, and then he goes QB 7 and then QB 11 this week. 2 touchdowns in each of the last 2 games, 0 picks so far this season, and has thrown over 900 yards. Alex, what's your thought?
I like what I see. Stroud was a huge question mark, mainly because of the weapons he had at Ohio State. The issue is there's not an issue with the weapons he's got at Houston. He's got 2 good receivers. The line's doing a well enough job, and he's looked great. Because he's not a really super mobile, I think you're going to put him in a lower tier. Him being QB 11 right now, I think is his ceiling. I think realistically he's going to finish between 16 and 20.
Okay. So this is you're kind of fading him at where he's at right now.
100%. I am fading him.
So he's not a player you like. If he's on waivers, you're not going to get him.
Right now, no, but he's a guy you want to keep an eye on. There's been a lot of QBs this year who were drafted way higher who aren't performing. So I usually tell myself after week 4, you get a better idea of how things are going to look. So we'll see what happens, but I'm fading him right now.
Okay. I don't hate it. I'm with you. It's like,
it's fun to watch.
As a Michigan
fan,
right?
He's been really fun to watch. And I thought Justin Fields was going to be the OSU QB that surprised me, and it's not. It's CJ Stroud.
Yeah, Dan Orlovsky did a really cool breakdown on Stroud and how he kind of manipulates the pocket and what he's doing with his feet and how he's kind of maneuvering this offense. And it was awesome to kind of watch and see like the technical side of it and why he's doing so well. So I'd recommend going. It's on his Twitter, but
yeah,
there's real upside for Stroud. And again, I love Nico. We're going to get into this guy next, but Tank Dell, I really like what I'm seeing on Tank Dell.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Woods is there. Schultz, obviously, there's some weapons around him. The offensive line's not as great as I want it to be, but if he gets a true number 1 wide receiver, I just don't think Nico's that true number 1 like alpha guy. I think he might be able to.
Adams,
you know what I mean? Like if he can get that kind of player on him, like it's not going to happen this year, obviously, but if he can get that within the next couple seasons, like he could be someone that like explodes onto the scene. Speaking of Tank Dell, wide receiver 13 overall right now. Started off at wide receiver 63, wide receiver 19 week 2, and then wide receiver 7 this week. Are you in or are you out on Tank Dell right now?
I'm in. I think what this offense is going to turn it into is how Deshaun Watson was with Bill O'Brien at Houston, where they won like 4 games one year.
Mm-hmm.
Deshaun Watson had like 5,000 yards.
20 went nuts, yeah.
I think it's going to be something similar. I think Stroud, and I've touched on it before the season, I think he was going to lead all the rookies in passing attempts and yards. I thought he would have higher interceptions, but they're going to throw the ball a lot, and I think they're going to be top 10 in passing attempts, and I think it's going to 2 guys. I think it's going to Tank Dell. I think it's going to Nico Collins.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens.
The funny part is Robert Woods is he's got a stronghold on he's
not doing much.
No, that's what I'm saying. So right now he's on like 85% snaps, something like that. Yeah. He's had that through the first 3 weeks. The more Tank Dell keeps exploding onto the scene, the better Tank Dell keeps looking. The less I think Robert Woods is going to be on the field. I don't know if it's more of like a run block kind of thing where they trust Yeah, that's the thing. Like they trust Robert Woods on the outside to block. If Tank Dell can somehow work his way onto the field more than he's getting like 60% of snaps right now, and he's doing this with that. Like if he can get on the field around 75% of the snaps, this dude has all the potential to be a massive fantasy football option. Like he can really do some damage, and we've seen it. So I hope he continues on the right trajectory because he's fun to watch too. It's a lot of cool things.
He's really good.
Yeah. Calvin Ridley, wide receiver 35 overall right now. You touched on him earlier, but let's get into him. Wide receiver 6 week 1, wide receiver 80 week 2, and then wide receiver 65 this week. You already kind of touched on it, but give me your initial thoughts on where you think Calvin's going.
I think
not yet, Tiff. Drop Fields and pick up Stroud. Not yet.
No, you just roster.
Hold on to that rushing upside, and you just hope. You really hope that it hits. Yeah. Well, you got Love, right? I think she has Love as well.
Then you're starting Love. Well, then no, you keep Fields and keep Love.
Yeah, that's where I'm
upside. Yeah. Ridley, I was never as high as Ridley as most people. I think he was never really amazing by himself at Atlanta. He was good, but like he never looked like a true number 1 wide receiver. He was just the number 1 wide receiver or a complement to Julio Jones. That's it. He never looked better than Julio any game. I think
he looked the crazy. Sorry to cut you off, but the crazy thing to me is he looked so good week 1. Like he looked unbelievable week 1. I'm just curious where it went.
I think just blown coverage. I think just defenses thinking, oh, this guy's probably lost a step, or you don't need to focus on him. Like Calvin Ridley is the number one receiver at the Jags. The issue is he's not. He is not a top 20 receiver in the league. He's probably not. Realistically, he's not. And Christian Kirk kind of does a little bit of everything, and he's Trevor Lawrence's safety blanket, and he's got him and Ingram. So Ridley's he's running a lot of outs, and if he's not open, Trevor's not gonna be forcing it into him.
Yeah, I didn't catch this week's Jags game. I didn't have time to watch it yet. I'll try. I'm gonna try to get to it tomorrow, but yeah, I don't know. I week one, I was super optimistic. I thought he was gonna be a top 10 wide receiver. Just from watching that game film, because he looked great. He looked explosive. Everything you wanted to see. He's still getting the targets. He's had over 7 targets in every game, which is you want. That's what you want.
What do you get the last 2 games though?
He had 8 and then 7.
Okay, but the first game he had
11. Yeah. So
and
it's still like if you're getting
balls.
7 a game, that's really good.
But I want the thing is,
this
I think
is true. Ridley dropped a 30-yard touchdown. That's massive points.
True. But that's the thing. He's their deep threat. They're using Ridley as the outside deep threat guy.
I get that, but if again, like just watching game 1 of this season, he wasn't doing that a ton. Like it was a lot. His route running ability is fantastic. Like he is a great route runner. He was doing all the breaking in. He was doing a ton of different. His route tree was beautiful on week 1. And that's what I'm saying. Like, where'd it go? What are we doing with this offense? I don't know. Obviously, this week was Kansas City. Their secondary has been great. Like they've been shutting everyone down. It's only 3 weeks, so we'll see. Trevor Lawrence doesn't look that good so far through the first 3 weeks of the season. So
Ridley hasn't looked amazing the last 2 games too.
Yeah,
those balls he has to fight for, he hasn't been winning them. His catch rate's probably 30% the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. So, and I'll tell you, the schedule for them, it does not get any easier.
No.
So that's why it's scaring me. He was someone I was looking at today. I was making decisions on who I wanted. I was going to throw some trade offers out there, see what I can come away with. And then looking at that schedule, I was like, man, I don't know what the pass game is going to look like for this offense based on who they're going up against. They got a brutal schedule coming up. I don't know. It sucks because I really wanted him to be good, but I don't know if it's going to come to fruition. We'll see.
I think he's a low-end wide receiver too.
Okay. Which isn't bad. Like,
no, you're starting him every week.
Yeah.
You are.
Jerome Ford, running back 11 overall right now. He was RB 54 week 1. Obviously, Nick Chubb was in there. And then RB 7 and RB 7 the past 2 weeks. What's your expectations for him moving on?
Hunt will get more touches going forward than he did last week. I'm not saying – I think Ford still outsnaps him, but not by a lot.
Okay. Yeah, this week was 56% of snaps for Ford, 20% Hunt, 11% Strong.
He looks better than Hunt.
He does.
Pure Strongs look better than Hunt. What I will say is Stefanski is dumb enough to run the ball and get these guys the ball as much as he can to where you're still probably starting Jerome Ford every week.
Yeah, Jerome Ford's look good, man.
I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah.
I just think that with him, Hunt, and Strong, he's going to give them the ball too much.
We'll see. I'm curious to see how this offense evolves. This week was encouraging.
Dude.
This week was encouraging from what I saw, where they were in the gun a lot more than they typically are, which is Deshaun Watson's strong suit. And it showed. So hopefully they kind of lean on that a little bit more. And again, Jerome Ford, 2 touchdowns in this game against one of the hardest rush defenses in the game. Obviously, one was a receiving touchdown, but it was a beautifully drawn up play where he was wide open in the end zone. So I'm excited to see what can happen with Jerome Ford. I like
him. I like Jerome Ford. But what I will say is the competition so far this year, it hasn't been great. The Titans after I get it. The Titans after week 1 have been considered a top 5 defense. I think that changes.
Their pass defense is garbage. It is what it is. But their rush defense is on historic 18-game pace where they're just not letting anything. So that's why, like, he only ran for like 18 yards, 20 yards, something like that. But I'm just chalking that up to Tennessee's defense, where that's how every running back against Tennessee, they don't get yards. But he still found the end zone. He still was a factor in the pass game.
He's gonna get touches.
He's getting utilized in different ways, which is what I wanted to see.
Yeah, we'll see with next week. The Hunt, if I own Jerome Ford, having Hunt casting patches worries me a tiny bit.
I get that. It's weird, right?
You got to a little bit.
It's interesting.
You can't just. Jerome Ford looks better. That's not the argument. Jerome Ford looks better.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because obviously I'm a Cleveland guy, so I'm biased, but there's a lot of Cleveland people that are completely disagreeing with what you say. They're saying everyone's like Hunt's not going to be a factor at all in this backfield. I think he'll be a factor. Like he's going to.
I don't think Hunt is going to outsnap Ford ever. That's not what I'm saying. Is they are going to draw up a lot of plays to running backs, screens, short outs, whatever they can for running backs, because Stefanski wants to get running backs the ball for some dumb reason, to where it will affect him enough.
Okay,
he's still the guy you're starting every week. But I think it limits his RB1 capability.
Are you trading him right now? If you have
no, because even with what I think he is, which is probably an RB2, a middle of the road RB2, after him, there's just drop offs.
It's a drop off.
It's a huge drop off. So you're starting him every week.
I'm with you. Let's get into another one of those guys. Miles Sanders, RB15 right now. He's RB15 week 1, RB31 week 2, RB11 this week. He leads RBs in targets right now and is 15th in rush attempts.
You drafted him as an RB2. That's what you're getting. You're getting a guy who's going to get touches. This team's not going to be fun. He's not going to be efficient, but he's going to get enough touches where he's going to be an RB2.
Yeah, I'm with you. That was my entire argument on Miles Sanders.
That's why I drafted him. You're getting him late. You know, you went wide receiver heavy. You did no running back because you're like, I'm going to get a guy like Miles Sanders who his ceiling's RB9, but his floor is RB20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my complete argument for Miles Sanders this offseason, why I was so high on him. I think I had him up there. I think he finished at RB13 for me, where he's just going to get so much work in this offense. They're going to rely on him. And the targets is the one thing I was really adamant about. I was like, I think he's just going to get a lot of pass work. So far through the first 3 weeks, it looks like that's coming to fruition. And if it stays where it's at, like if he keeps getting those targets, it's going to be a pretty decent season for Sanders. And the floor alone kind of saves you, right? Like obviously week 2 wasn't great, but if he's getting enough targets, like the floor is going to be pretty good. Tight end. Let's get into the tight ends. Evan Ingram, tight end 4 overall. He was tight end 5 week 1, tight end 6 week 2, and tight end 7 this week. 21 targets, 18 receptions, 173 yards, 0 touchdowns. So he's doing this with no touchdowns. What's kind of your outlook on him? Do you think it's going to continue do you think he'll end up being like a top 5 tight end, or do you think it's going to fade away?
No, I think what you're seeing is probably what it's going to look like all year. Now, I think there's some touchdowns sprinkled in, but he's going to borderline between the second and third best option for Trevor Lawrence. It's going to be back and forth. And as a tight end, you want that. You're going to start him every week happily. Because if you drafted him, you got him pretty low.
7th, 8th round.
Yeah. So you're not mad with possibly tying him 5 in the 8th round, where guys like me who got Darren Waller, tied in 8, like that might be struggle bus all season. Outside of like Hawk and Kelsey, that's flip a coin. Yeah.
You could throw Laporta in there soon.
Oh yeah, Laporta now too, which I love seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
I was super high on him. I know me and Mario both were, but outside of that, it's like
Yeah.
Ingram 8th round, you're not mad, or
I'm with you.
Laporta in the probably 12th round.
I mean, 5, 6, 7. He's being very consistent for you, and for the tight end position, it's what you want
All day.
Let's get into this guy, somebody that I think we need to talk about. And I want to get your opinions. Donald Parham, tight end 6 overall right now, tight end 4 week 1, tight end 51 week 2, tight end 6 week 3. He's doing this 7 targets, 7 targets, 6 receptions, 3 touchdowns. What are your thoughts on him moving forward? Like, is he rosterable? Are you picking him up? Are you stashing him?
I think depending on what your tight end situation is, you roster him. I'm interested to see if his targets go up with Mike Williams out. I don't know if I play him this week, but it would be kind of hard not to, knowing Mike Williams is out. If you've got a top 10 guy already, you're probably not risking it. But if you have like a tight end 15,
they got the Raiders.
Yeah, he's what, 6'8", something ridiculous.
He's massive.
Like, he's giant, and Mike Williams is out. So it's hard to not start him, but it is still risky.
Yeah, like this is what you're gonna get, right? Like, you're gonna get a top 5 tight end performance, top 7, or you're gonna get like 0 points. So it's, are you willing to risk it? Because he's doing everything's in the end zone. All his receptions are in the end zone. With how tight ends are, I think it's an interesting conversation. We don't need to get too deep into it right now, but I think it's an interesting conversation to have moving forward about what to do with him, because you can either play him every week, and he's going to win you weeks with some of these games, or he's going to get you 1 or 2 points where, honestly, like, half the other tight ends are getting you 6. So what's the difference? Like Darren Waller, right? We're playing Darren Waller. We spent big capital on him, and he's getting you 6, 7 points a week. Like, would you rather play Parham and just hope he hits and gets you 20?
I think it depends on where you're at. If how the rest of your team looks. If you've got a better team and you kind of need the safer play, you're going to go with a guy like Waller. Mm-hmm. But like, if you need a tight end to get you like over 12 points, then maybe you put Parham in. Yeah,
that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, if your team is set, right? Like if you're comfortable and you don't need that tight end to produce,
you just
big
need a
points,
guy who's going to get 7 targets.
Consistent. Yeah. I like that outlook. All right, let's get into the waiver wire finds. The waiver wire recap. Let's get into it. So Alex, who was a guy you went out and spent money on, some fab on this week? Who's the guy that you went out and tried to get?
Well, you're going to talk about that guy. So my backup was, because I think there's the obvious. I think one of the obvious is A-Chain. So I didn't want to touch on that because obviously, like, everybody's going to try to roster him. Yeah. So if you didn't win the bidding war that happened, and the top 2 guys who were going, and you'll talk about one of them, I think the guy that was kind of sneaky that you can roster, and you might have been able to get him after the waiver wires went through, is Rondale Moore. The Cardinals are better than what I think people are assuming, and they're scheming. And I honestly think the coach knows what he's doing, and how they schemed against Micah Parsons was
crazy,
a work of art. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen, where they ran at him the entire game. The entire game, they were like, "We're going to run up at Micah Parsons," and
I think Connor finished it like RB 6 or 7 this week.
Yeah, and I think they realized that, hey, the best athlete on our offense right now is Rondale Moore. We've got to find more ways to get him the ball. And they gave him a few running plays. He got he's getting some targets as receiver. To where this guy, Marquise Brown looked really good, but he's really thin to where he can't do the things Rondale Moore can do. So I'm excited to, like, this guy. I'm not starting him this week, but I'm rostering him because this is somebody to watch.
Yeah, I like it. I definitely like that. I'm with you. We're going to get into another player on this team later on. But yeah, dude, the Cards, they look way better than we all anticipated.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about, this poor man's Debo, I was contemplating, we're going over trade targets later. And one of my guys that I was going to put on there was Elijah Moore. And it's somewhat similar to what you're saying with Rondale Moore, where they're finding creative and unique ways to get him the ball in that Debo sense, right? He's getting rush attempts. He's getting, he's targeted. I think he was targeted 9 times this game, 11 last. Like he's getting the targets, stuff like that, which it all fits with Rondale Moore, where if they're going to use the athletes that you have, and if they're using Rondale Moore in that capacity, like he's someone to be rostered. He's someone to keep an eye on and have in your back pocket, because those guys can later in the season, when they figure out what works for that guy, like you can see what happened with Debo, right? Like you can see something that you're not going to probably get that production what Debo did that season. But if you get something similar to that, that's a flex all year. Like that's a great play for the rest of the season if they figure it out with that player.
Yeah.
Like,
you know what,
when you see a team try to find ways to get a certain guy the ball, like it's something to take note of.
Yeah. When the world just watched the biggest offensive genius last week with Mike McDaniels and the Dolphins. And the key thing that he's been preaching is, keep it simple to where you find a way to get the ball and your athletes. The Dolphins arguably have the fastest offense in the league. I mean, you have 5 track stars on the team. It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just finding ways. They don't care how small you are or how you're built. They're running plays to get you as open as they can, as close to the line as possible to open up the entire offense. And they're just like, run, yards after catch. This is what we need. We need you. We just need to get the ball in our hands. And I think other teams are going to start realizing that. And Rondale Moore is gonna benefit from that game.
Yeah. I like it. I think you're right. That's, if you notice a player like that, dude, it's somebody to monitor and even pick up and just hold and see. Because like you said, man, like if they're finding ways to get a guy a ball, it's a good sign. It's a very good sign. Very good sign. Let's get into some of these buy sell trades. Let's get into it. Oh, actually, no. I gotta.
Yeah, you forgot.
I gotta do my guy. My bad. My waiver wire claim that I was going after. Josh Palmer. He was the guy that I really went for this week.
Yeah.
Mike Williams is out, obviously, and there's kind of a split a little bit between who's the guy. Is it Palmer? Is it QJ? For me, it's Palmer. It's not even a question. I know. I don't. A lot of people are trying to say QJ is going to take over that Mike Williams role. I don't see it. I think it's going to be Palmer. QJ's had 30% he hasn't even hit 30% of snaps in a game yet. Palmer's been over 55 in every game this season. I think he's an easy plug and play wide receiver 2 moving forward in the season. They're going to throw. We've seen it already. They're throwing the ball at a great clip. Like they're going to keep throwing the ball.
Yeah.
Palmer's going to be involved. Keenan's still going to eat, and Palmer's going to be worth playing week in and week out. Now, can Quentin Johnson, get acclimated to this offense and become something? Sure, that can happen. But right now, I'm putting my money on Josh Palmer being that number 2 option in this offense, with some Quentin Johnson sprinkled in as that wide receiver 3, which I think there's enough pass volume in this offense for all 3 to be decent. But I think Palmer is going to be that number 2 option in this offense moving forward.
I agree.
Yeah. It's a lot. I mean, me and Mario were going back and forth a little bit today about it. He thinks Quentin Johnson's going to be the guy. I'm in on Palmer.
It's just kind of crazy because Mike Williams got a lot of hate
mm-hmm.
Because of his injuries. But Mike Williams was the 2nd wide receiver, I think, drafted in his draft.
He's good.
He is very good. There's people just, you could slide right in. Quentin Johnson's not him. Mike Williams in college was way better than Quentin Johnson was.
And Palmer's not him, right? I'm not expecting.
And that's the difference is Quentin Johnson is a big not burner receiver that you're like, okay, he slides better in that role. He's not as big as Mike Williams. He doesn't have the body like Mike Williams. Josh Palmer can do everything. And what was holding him back was two really good receivers to where Keenan Allen's going to get more attention than he typically does because he doesn't have another kind of Pro Bowl receiver on the other side. So Palmer is going to eat. I think he's a safe wide receiver too.
Yeah. I think he's plug and play rest of the season.
For sure. I 100% agree with you.
I really do. And now it's time for some buy-sell trades. Alex, who is a guy that you're actively going out and trying to trade for right now?
Kenneth Walker, man.
Ooh-wee.
Just nonstop. This is a guy I want. Just what I'm seeing. Pete Carroll loves running backs, and he's just that good, dude. I think people overthink the Charbonnet, oh, well, this and that. Like, no. Kenneth Walker is the real deal. I think I wouldn't worry about Charbonnet taking Kenneth Walker's spot anytime soon. This guy could finish RB1. It wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Walker is great. The only thing I'm gonna say, there's only one knock I have on anything with Ken Walker. This week, the snaps are pretty even between him and Charbonnet. Again, I mean, they were up a little bit in the fourth, so I think Sharps had most of those snaps, but the snap count was pretty split in this game. But I think Walker's a guy that if he's getting 65% of the snaps, which I don't think I think that's at the low end, he'll get at least 60% of snaps in this offense. Like, he can do all his damage on that. Like, he doesn't need the full workload with how explosive he is, how good he is in the open field. Like, we see it last year, I think he was number one in big time runs, like runs over 15 yards, stuff like that. That's where he does his damage, is in a limited capacity. He doesn't need all those rushing attempts to be really good. And I'm with you. I think he's somebody that's going to finish top 5. Like, I'm pretty confident in saying that. And you hit it on the head this offseason. I was a little colder on him than you, but you nailed it.
You watch him, he's just so good. Even when things get tough, he's good. And I think it's like if they're down game, Charbonnet might get more third down opportunities than Kenneth Walker. But realistically, you're expecting 17 to 25 touches a game with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with those, you can get a lot. He's going to get you a lot of damage in those touches.
I'm with you. Yeah, for sure. That's what. He doesn't need a ton to do the damage.
No.
One of my buy guys this week, again, it was the same guys last week. I'm going to say it again. Christian Watson. Risky coming off the injury. It's a risky play, but if you can go out and get him, maybe at a little bit of a discount because he's been hurt these 4 weeks. My only worry was, can Love get him the ball? Is Love good enough to do it? And I think Love has answered all those questions that I had.
He's got the arm.
Christian Watson, if he's healthy, coming into this offense, how Jordan Love is throwing the ball and how his average depth of target is insane for this offense. Plug Christian Watson into this, you can get something really special out of Christian Watson for the rest of the season. Like, he could be an easy number 1 wide receiver if he's fully healthy.
Who can cover a 6'4", 4'3" wide receiver?
Yeah, with a quarterback that can get him the ball.
Who can throw it 70 yards sitting down. Like,
that's the thing. Like, that was my only knock on Christian Watson this season. Was Kim?
Yeah,
Love
you didn't know what was going to happen with Love.
He's answered it. The bell has been answered. So if you can go and get Christian Watson, from a team that, again, maybe isn't paying attention enough to what's going on in Green Bay. Maybe he's a little cold just since Watson's been hurt so long and we didn't anticipate being this long. If you can go and get him, like, I would trade Calvin Ridley plus something to go get Christian Watson. If I would offer Calvin Ridley straight up, see what happens.
I would offer Calvin Ridley straight up, 100%.
Straight up, and then I might sprinkle something else in just to go get this guy because I think sky's the limit. It's an aggressive play, but I'm sold on what Christian Watson can be in this offense.
Yeah, I agree.
Give me another guy, Alex.
We were just talking about him, Jordan Love. if you have T Law or even Justin Fields, there's a lot of QBs who are drafted high that are finishing even Deshaun Watson, Geno Smith, I said Fields and Lawrence, Daniel Jones, Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, a ton of receivers who aren't, or not receivers, quarterbacks who aren't looking great. Watson's looking a little better, but if you have that guy, get Jordan Love because this guy's ceiling's higher than all of those guys right now.
Plug and play Christian Watson. Put Christian Watson in there. The offense can be special.
Yeah, I agree. I'm hopeful. I don't like the Packers, but as a football fan, obviously I really loved watching Christian Watson last year. I try to get him in every league. I have him. I think
fun.
I have him in one of the leagues that we're in. I have him in it. He's so fun to watch. As a fan, I want to see him do well. I hate the Packers, but as a fan, I want to see Watson ball.
100%. The only thing, right, that you can knock Christian Watson for right now is injuries.
He's been injured a lot.
It's been hammies and stuff like that. Maybe because he runs so fast and maybe because he's so big, stuff like that. That's not great. That sucks to see. But, man, if this dude stays healthy and how Love is slinging the ball and the way he's throwing it downfield, special things can come from this offense.
Very hopeful.
Yeah. My final buy that I've been trying to go out and get is another Cardinal, Alex. Marquise Brown. He's wide receiver 32 right now. Again, we talked about it a little bit earlier. We were all a little bit too low on what this offense could do, what they could produce. We all thought they were tanking to go get Caleb, which again, they still might be. They're not doing great. What do they have? One win, which was a crazy win against the Cowboys that nobody saw coming. But he's getting 27.5% of the target share. He's 11th in red zone targets for wide receiver. The schedule really eases up for the back half of the year, where if Kyler comes back, Marquise Brown becomes a very, very interesting option down the stretch. I think right now, as is with Dobbs, he's an easy flex play for me moving forward. If you can get him and Kyler comes back, I think he can jump into that high-end wide receiver 2 category.
Yeah, I agree.
Where you can make some noise going into the playoffs with this guy. So if you can get him now before that Kyler news breaks or whatever, and I think he's still a good play moving forward throughout the season, even with Dobbs. But if you can get him now before Kyler comes back, look out. I think he can do some real good things this season. And we know he's good. He's a good player, and he's going to produce.
All the news that's been coming out the last week from Kyler, that working his butt off, he's there every day, he's doing a lot more than what people expected. The coach coming out saying as soon as he's ready, he's playing. They're not going to hold him back, but they're going to make sure he's 100% ready. There was early talks that maybe week 5 or week 6 he's going to come back, looking more like week 9 right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's going to come out with a vengeance, and this coach is running the game as if there's no tanking is happening.
No. Yeah, they're not trying to lose. Yeah. It's good to see. And again, dude, it's just
defenses look not terrible.
Which is crazy. I thought they were going to be so bad. But even if the defense is bad, I could care less for fantasy, right?
For
let
sure.
the defense suck. That's fine. But the offense is competent. They know what they're doing. They look like a good offense, which is what we were all worried coming into the season. Was like, man, this offense might score.
Looks good. Marquise
we were saying that this offense might have a touchdown a game, maybe. So who's going to score? It does at the end of the day, you're not getting any points out of these players because they're not scoring touchdowns. But we were wrong. They're scoring touchdowns. They're doing what we thought they were not going to do. So when that happens, you got to kind of flip what your thought process is. Okay, they're actually a pretty decent offense. Let's go get those players now while we can, before it kind of might even get better if Kyler comes into it.
Yeah, it can only get better.
Yeah. Alex, let's get into some sells. Who is a guy that if you have him on your roster, who are you going out and selling right now?
Josh Jacobs.
Interesting.
Just hasn't looked really good. I know a lot of people are like, oh, this is the time to buy him with his stock being low because he hasn't looked very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think this offensive line looks pretty terrible. I think that QB is going to be an issue, and their defense isn't that great. So I think they're going to be behind a lot. Their defensive line looks good, but I think they're going to be behind, and I think they're going to be throwing the ball a ton.
Yeah.
And Devontae Adams is the only safe play. If Jimmy's in there, I'm playing him and Jacoby.
Yeah,
But
like
outside
Jacoby.
of but that's if Jimmy G plays. I don't love starting Jacoby with the backup. But Adams is the only one I feel safe playing. I mean, Josh Jacobs, he
Talk to him
honestly
getting traded too.
Yeah, he looks slow. He looks big, slow. I mean, he's got to be the lowest with the top 10 touches. He's got what 2.4 yards per carry.
Mm-hmm.
2.4 yards per carry. There's nobody like Henry's is low. Rashad White's is like the second at 3.1. Those two guys are getting a ton.
What package are you accepting? Like, what are you taking for him?
For Josh Jacobs, I'm wanting a wide receiver too.
What if someone comes to you with like Jerome Ford plus Adam Thielen?
Yes.
Easy yes.
Yes. A healthy Adam Thielen's already looking like it could
good.
be nuts.
He looks
Obviously, good. Andy Dalton is the one who was throwing the ball to him last week, but they said that Bryce and him had great chemistry in the offseason. They really haven't, their injuries back and forth. I like Thielen. I think Thielen's a flex, and I think Ford's an RB2. So if you can get an RB2 and a flex wide receiver out of him, I would do it. I think that's a realistic.
I think that's a realistic package you can go get.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah. I don't know. He's a really tough one for me to gauge right now. He really is.
He's bad, dude.
I keep flip-flopping. I'm like, he's a sell. He's a buy. He's a sell. He's like in my head, I just keep flip-flopping on him. Let's get into one of my sells this week. Zach Moss is going to be my sell. Dude's been really good the first 2 weeks that he's played. I think he was RB10 then RB5. But that was the majority of that work was without Anthony Richardson. Looks like Richardson's going to be back this week. Once he's back, that takes away some of his rushing touches and some of those really important rushing touches around the goal line, which is where I'm more worried about. I think Zach Moss will be okay. I think he's going to be somewhat in that the back end RB2, maybe mid RB2 range.
I think it's an RB2, yeah.
With Richardson there.
Yep.
And then you also have that looming possibility that I don't know what's going to happen with Taylor, but he's coming back. And who's he going to play for? We don't know. It could be for the Colts. So if you can go trade Zach Moss now and get something for him, I think it's worth doing it because, again, I think
What are you getting for him?
I don't know. That's a good question.
That's I don't disagree with you. My only thing is
Thielen, something like that, like a flex.
I wouldn't do it, but that's the thing. I wouldn't do it for Thielen. I mean, with Rich there, I think if we talked about RB2s there's a big drop off, and if you can get somebody who's a top 12 running back week to week, which I think realistically Zach Moss can do while Taylor's out. I couldn't sell him for a flex receiver.
Yeah. Oh, so I guess what I'm saying is it's worth shopping Moss.
Yes.
Right. If you can find the right package.
Right.
Like, would you do it for Marquise Brown?
Right now, no.
Okay. I probably would do it for Marquise. Like, again, if you have Zach Moss, more often than not, like you picked him up on waivers, A. B, hopefully you got two other running backs ahead of them. I know it's a hopeful thing, right? But some teams, that's what happened, right? You drafted two decent running backs that are producing at okay levels. You picked up Zach Moss, or you picked up Jerome Ford, or A-Chain. You have those guys that you got off of waivers that you can shop around now because they were just an added piece to your bench that you weren't anticipating coming into the season. Like for me, I have a team with Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, Ford, and A-Chain. So I'm shopping those, and I picked up Ford and A-Chain on waivers back-to-back weeks.
Right.
Like, I'm shopping those guys around just because I have the luxury of doing that with my other 2 running backs. So if you're in that position, that's what I'm saying. Like, since I'm in, like, if I can trade A-Chain for Marquise Brown, or if it was Zach Moss instead of A-Chain,
I would trade A-Chain for Marquise Brown. For
like,
sure.
it also depends on your team's, what your team looks like.
What do you value? Let's say Zach Moss is the running back for the rest of the year. Let's say Taylor gets traded. What do you think? What do you think Zach Moss's ceiling is?
With a healthy Anthony Richardson?
Yes.
Mid RB2.
I think if he starts the rest of the year with Anthony Richardson, I think he's a low-end RB1.
I don't.
I think they are he got so many touches against a solid Baltimore defense.
Yeah, but Richardson played 30% of the game.
I understand that, but it's only going to make it – I get the goal line stuff, but it's going to make it better for Moss with Richardson back running the ball. It's like with Hurts and Miles Sanders last year. It's going to make it more efficient, and he's already very efficient with Richardson out.
Yes, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
I get, like, to trade him while the stock is at its highest because of Taylor, the possibility of Taylor coming back.
And I'm saying this now.
It would be hard for me to do it.
Yeah, and I'm saying this now too because there are so many questions, right? Like,
yeah, it's a high stock.
I think his value right now is very good because he's produced at the level that we're talking about. And then you add in the factors of Taylor coming back, Anthony Richardson coming back. How is this offense going to shake out with Anthony Richardson and Zach Moss on the field together? Like, what's going to happen? Like, there's just so many question marks that everything has to go right for him to finish into that RB1 category that I think he's worth the sell. If you have running backs,
if you have an RB1 and RB2 already,
yes,
I agree.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you have
Zach
the makeup,
Moss to me could be a league. His ceiling is a league winner. He's a guy you got for nothing, and could end up being his ceiling to you is an RB2 with no JT,
which is great,
which is fantastic in a league where it's so wide receiver heavy. That could be a huge difference maker.
Obviously, these players are all dependent on what your team's makeup is, right?
100%.
Yeah, just like Josh Jacobs. Like, would you really trade him away if you didn't have any backup playing at running back?
Dude, 2.4 yards per carry is rough.
It's fine, but he's on the field 90% of snaps. Like, he's getting the work. You know what I mean? Like, are you willing to? Who are you plugging in now? Like, are you playing Kareem Hunt over him?
No.
Are you playing? You know what I mean? Like, that's what you're going to be doing. That's what you're going to be doing if you trade him away with no other backups. Right? Like, it's all based off of what your team. It's what your team. It's all based what your team can afford to give up as well, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Roshan Johnson's doing better than Josh Jacobs fantasy wise. Tyler Algier is doing better than Josh Jacobs. Rashad White, being almost just as efficient, is doing better.
Yeah, but
that's
Algier's
what's really
skewed.
I get it, but
there's skewed weeks there, which Jacobs is gonna get skewed weeks as well. Like, he's gonna stumble into
terrible
but he's gonna stumble into
a couple good ones.
Yeah,
a couple good ones. Trade him.
Yeah, get him off your books. Cook the books.
Don't even want to deal with it.
Alex, give me another guy you're selling.
It's gonna upset Mario. Puka. And came back down to earth a little bit more this week. I think he got like 7 targets, maybe 8 targets, something like that.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm saying sell him is because Cooper is still injured this week technically, and Puka is still the guy this week, and he's put up amazing numbers the first 2 weeks and solid numbers last week. Cooper Kupp gets back. There is not a thing you can do to convince me that Puka's going to get 11 targets a game with Cooper back. No way. Not possible.
7 to 8.
I think that's a ceiling. I think his ceiling 7 to 8. I think
they're throwing the ball.
And I agree. They're going to throw the ball a ton, but I think it's going to split a little bit more with Tutu and Puka. People forget that Cooper Kupp set the record with Matt Stafford at QB. He's going to get 12 targets minimum every freaking game.
Yeah.
So so you've got a tight end that you're going to throw to every once in a while. You've got, Higbee's getting targets because every segment we've ever talked about Higbee, the ugliest tight end you don't ever want because it's boring.
Kyron looks good.
He gets Kyron, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's good to me. Puka right now is a wide receiver 1.
Too many mouths to feed.
Yes. When he gets back, Cooper Kupp's a wide receiver 1. He's going to be a guy's top 10 wide receiver every week. Sell Puka now while it's high. Get your value for him.
Yeah, I'm curious what you can get for him. He's an interesting one to me.
There's people who truly believe that Cooper Kupp's never coming back. Sell him. Sell Puka to that guy.
Yeah. I'm nervous from what we heard today.
What, for Cooper?
Yeah.
He's on track and
he said McVay said he's hopeful he'll be back.
Yeah.
But it's coach talk. Like, I don't know. I hope he's back because
I think at worst Cooper is out till week 7.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That's
hopefully he's back
worst.
Week 5. Hopefully he's back week 5.
Yeah, I agree. I traded for him in one of our leagues, traded a first for him. So I hope he's back. And when he is, he's the dude.
Yeah, 100%. My final sell for the week, Alexander Mattison. I think now is your window where you can get somewhat of a return for him. He just had a top 12 finish this week. He looked halfway decent doing it. But again, that was against a trash defense, Chargers defense. And Cam Akers is coming, man. Like, he was inactive. He was inactive this week. And again, Cam Akers is going to get involved in this offense one way or another, whether it's a 50-50 split and just eat into Madison's workload, which is the only thing that's carrying him right now. But I think there's a very small window right now where you can sell him for something that can help your team moving forward.
I agree. No disagreements there, dude.
Get out while you can.
Get out while you can. We all know. We've all watched. He's looked pretty shitty all year. He didn't look great. The thing with him is when Cook was out, he got 90% of the snap percentage, got a million touches. He never averaged more than like 4 yards per carry. He wasn't an efficient runner. He just did it. He got the touches. This year he's getting the touches and there's no threat. He's looked like shit.
Yeah. Do you have a last one?
Yeah, I had to add this in, and I'm not doing this to purposely hurt your feelings. Is Dameon Pierce. He's looked god awful this season. That line's not very good. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. The line's bad. It's not going to drastically get better.
And the split's way more than I thought it was going to be.
The split is kind of, I was a little bit higher in Singletary than some people were. I don't love either of them. I've said this before, but to me, there was enough there to where I'm like, hey, they're behind, and Singletary's a little bit quicker. He's not necessarily a burner by any means. Pierce is not either, but he's a little bit quicker. I don't like it. If you can get anything solid out of it, trade Dameon Pierce.
Yeah. He's all right, week 1, 45% of snaps. Week 2, 45% of snaps. Week 3, 54% of snaps.
There's only one running back who's been
less
efficient than him, and that's Josh Jacobs.
It sucks. It sucks because I really like Dame Pierce. I think he's a good player. It's just
he's a good player if you have a good run blocking line who can block. He reminds me a lot of A.J. Dillon.
A.J. Dillon sucks.
They're the same running back, homie.
I don't think A.J. sucks.
Surprise! Somebody took the mold.
I get it. I get it, though.
Dameon Pierce.
I get it,
they're
though.
The same. They were both power. And A.J. Dillon looked better in college because Dameon Pierce was getting like 500 yards a season at Florida. It made no sense. But it is because he can't create himself. He needs holes to hit, and he hits them hard, and he's big. But if they don't exist, he's not creating them.
Yeah.
He
I don't
doesn't
know.
bounce.
I don't know what running back's gonna have a good season behind that offensive line, to be honest.
You're right. Don't own any of it.
That's the thing. It's just like, what do you do?
But you
I
still
don't know.
have enough in there, Dameon Pierce, that there's enough that you might be able to get a flex wide receiver out of him. So you trade him because there is enough teams. There's only like 5 or 6 running backs right now that have been consistent. So if you could get
running back's a mess this year.
It's a mess. So if you can sell, if you want to keep them around and hope that the Texans somehow become a top 15 team, you can do it. But I promise you, it's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. RB's turning into the new tight end.
Yeah. I agree.
The more splits that come, the more that's going to be the case. Alex, any last thoughts before we get out of here?
I can't wait to see what Zeke does this week against his old team.
Interesting. Okay. Let's see.
He's looked, I hate to say it, and I'm surprised, but the last 2 weeks he's looked better than Ramondre.
Uh-oh.
Didn't think it was going to happen, but he has.
Uh-oh. Zeke's cutting in to Ramondre.
He is. I'm kind of excited for it. I was upset about it at first, but I'm like, if he looks better than Ramondre, give him more touches.
So you're saying go pick up Ezekiel Elliott?
This, as a Patriots fan, this team is going to be behind a lot. Not by a lot, because the defense is still very good.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not loving what I see. I think we might have a bottom 3 offensive line.
Yeah. Last week was a perfect game for Zeke. Like, that's why you bring that guy in.
Yeah.
A rainy game. It's going to be a grinded out kind of try to not turn the ball over. Just give it to a back and let him power his way through and eat the clock up. Perfect game for him. So I'm curious to see how this all pans itself out.
You got to. Ramondre still can catch the ball solid, but he's looked slow.
Ooh, boy.
I hate seeing it, dude.
Turmoil in New England.
I was high on him, and it's not looking. I'm hoping it changes, but he's not looking very good right now.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So we will be back tomorrow night. Me and Mario will be back at 7 o'clock to get you ready for Thursday Night Football, give you the DFS plays of the week. And then we'll be live Sunday morning, getting you ready. Any last minute questions and stuff like that. So we'll be here. Get in the live stream and shoot some questions into us because we like doing that. For Alex, I'm Rob. Dad bod, baby.
Thank you for watching our episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
If you aren't already following us on Twitter, check us out at DadBodFS.
We'll be posting all of our best clips and videos to all of our social media: TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. You can find us on there at DadBod Fantasy Squad.
Lastly, if you'd rather just listen, we make sure we post our audio of each episode on all the major streaming platforms. Stick with us all season long so together we can count our trophies and not our calories.